Humans were built to break, but never to stay broken. The Intergalactic Military Academy was the crown jewel of elite military training across the galaxy. Here, cadets from dozens of species trained side by side, combining their distinct strengths into a singular, formidable force. Reptilians, insectoids, humanoids, and other exotic beings came together to forge an unmatched coalition of warfighters. Yet, amidst all the diversity and discipline, there was one universal consensus. Humans were different. Led by Jack Carter, the human cadets stood apart. While others adhered strictly to drills and protocols, Jack and his squad seemed unnervingly relaxed. To the alien cadets, their approach was reckless, bordering on madness. But what they failed to understand was that humans thrived in chaos. Jack was a towering figure, broad-shouldered, often slouched, and always wearing a roguish grin. Among his alien peers, he had become somewhat of a legend, or a warning. He dismissed ranks, ignored regulations, and appeared to have no concern for his personal safety. To some, he was insane, to others, unstoppable. Today's drill was a live fire simulation intended to mimic the unpredictability of real combat. The cadets were split into mixed-species squads and thrown into a hostile training zone filled with drones, deadly terrain, and tactical challenges. It was a crucible meant to test unity and strategy under fire. As the simulation commenced, gunfire erupted. Jack's team moved with speed and precision, his reflexes far exceeding those of his alien teammates. They had just begun to gain momentum when a malfunctioning drone descended from the sky. Designed to be a non-lethal target, its targeting system glitched and locked onto Jack. The drone fired. The blast struck Jack directly in the chest. His suit absorbed part of the impact, but it wasn't enough. The force hurled him backward into a coil of razor wire. His limbs twisted at unnatural angles as the barbed wire tore through his armor, slicing into his flesh. A stunned silence fell over the squad. They'd seen difficult training exercises before, but nothing like this. Zarn, a reptilian cadet, stared in disbelief. "He's dead," he whispered. Rhett, an insectoid cadet, immediately began accessing emergency extraction protocols. "We need to medevac him, now." But before they could act, Jack groaned. He slowly pushed himself off the wire, blood streaking down his face, his features, more irritated than afraid. "That's going to leave a mark," he muttered, casually wiping his face with a bloodied glove. "You're alive?" Zarn stammered, voice cracking. Yeah, just a scratch," Jack said, smirking. "I've had worse falling off my bunk." Then, without flinching, he reached for his dislocated arm, and with a grunt and a sickening pop, shoved it back into place. Rhett could barely speak. "Jack, you need a medic." Jack waved it off. "No time for that, buddy. We've got a mission to finish. Just give me a minute to fix this." He tore a piece of fabric from his damaged suit and wrapped it around. His ribs making a makeshift bandage, the alien cadets, still reeling from the sight, were too stunned. There was a heavy silence. Some cadets exchanged nervous glances. Others instinctively stepped back, half expecting Jack to collapse at any second. "Are you sure you're okay?" Zarn asked, his voice laced with genuine concern. "I'm good. Let's move," Jack replied flatly, pulling out his weapon and reloading it with mechanical ease. The aliens looked at one another, uncertainty etched into their features. Jack was already moving forward, completely unbothered by the trauma his body had just endured. Reluctantly, they followed, not because they believed they could stop him, but because they were more afraid of what he might do next if left alone. The drill continued, though the mood had shifted. Jack advanced without hesitation, each step composed and deliberate. Despite the blast he had taken, he carried on as though nothing had happened, and that unnerved everyone. His composure didn't. Just defy their expectations. It shattered them. Every alien cadet kept a close eye on him. They had been told humans were resilient, but this was beyond resilience. This was something deeper, something bordering on madness. Jack wasn't simply enduring pain, he was dismissing it entirely. Even injured, he moved through the next obstacle with uncanny precision. He scaled walls, dodged hazards, and cleared terrain as if he had no wounds at all. The other cadets lagged behind, their eyes flicking between their surroundings and the human who seemed invincible. Low whispers passed between them. "What's wrong with him?" one asked. "I don't know," came the hushed reply. "He's, not normal." Overhearing, Jack grinned and called out, "You think I'm normal? Now that's overrated. Let's keep going." As they pressed on, the alien cadets found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about humans. They didn't quit. They didn't break the way others did. When things got hard, humans found a new way forward, even if it meant dragging broken limbs behind them. The drill raged on, and still Jack led the charge. Though his steps showed signs of strain, there was no indication he intended to stop. A makeshift bandage wrapped around his ribs fluttered slightly as he moved, but it did nothing to slow him down. "Jack, you're seriously hurt," Rhett said, still by his side but clearly struggling to match his pace. "This is insane. You need medical treatment." Jack glanced over and raised an eyebrow. "This is insane? Please, you should have seen the Federation drill last year. Now that was fun." Rhett opened his mouth to respond but fell silent, shaking his head. Somehow, Jack always had a crazier story to top the last. Zarn finally spoke, disbelief heavy in his tone. "I don't understand. You don't even seem to feel it." Jack chuckled. "Feel it? Sure. But I'm just tired. Nothing new. Just another day in the life of a human." Then he smirked at his squad mates. "You guys think this is bad? Wait till you see what I'm like when I'm actually hurt. That's when it gets interesting." The alien cadets looked at each other, anxiety mounting. Their training had been brutal, their bodies enhanced to withstand extraordinary stress, but none of them could understand how Jack was still moving, talking, and laughing after such a hit. What they were witnessing didn't just defy training, it defied belief. Jack grinned, his tone light despite the blood drying on his face. "It doesn't have to make sense," he said with a shrug. "That's just how we humans roll. Now come on, we've still got a mission to finish. I'm not letting a glitchy drone slow me down." Without waiting for a reply, Jack pressed forward, stepping over obstacles like they were nothing more than speed bumps. The alien cadets followed, though visibly shaken. They couldn't decide whether to help him or stay out of his way. Part of them admired his tenacity. Another part wanted to drag him straight to the med bay. The simulation raged on, but Jack remained at the forefront. Each new challenge tested their endurance, but for Jack, it was just another part of the course. His weapon never wavered. His stride never faltered. Despite his injuries, he powered through, a relentless force of will refusing to yield. Eventually, the group reached a simulated enemy stronghold. Their objective? Infiltrate, neutralize threats, and capture high-value points. It was a complex task requiring teamwork, strategy, and stealth, something they'd all trained for extensively. But Jack had other ideas. Before anyone could coordinate, Jack surged forward, weapon raised and eyes locked on the target. He charged into the stronghold with reckless determination, completely disregarding cover. The alien cadets froze in disbelief. Then, panic. They scrambled after him, but their movements were careful, calculated. Jack, by contrast, was a storm, dodging enemy fire, twisting his body with inhuman agility, returning shots with unerring accuracy. "Jack, you're insane!" Rhett shouted, ducking behind a barrier. "That's what they keep telling me," Jack replied mid-sprint, flashing a wild grin. "But guess what? Crazy gets results." And he wasn't wrong. The alien cadets could only watch in awe as Jack tore through enemy lines with terrifying efficiency. While they clung to their training, Jack moved with instinct and confidence that defied logic. He didn't slow down, he didn't falter. And by the time the final objective was secure, Jack was already stretching like he'd just finished a warm-up lap. "You all right?" Zarn asked hesitantly, eyeing the bruises and dried blood on Jack's frame. Jack winced slightly as he rotated his shoulder. "Told you I'm fine. Just a scratch." The alien cadets stood in stunned silence. They had been trained to avoid unnecessary risk, to weigh every decision carefully. Jack ignored all that. He pushed forward regardless of pain, logic, or consequence. They had never seen anything like it. "Jack, are you sure you're not a little broken?" Zarn asked. Jack let out a loud, unrestrained laugh. "Broken? You think that stops me? Nah, we're just getting started." The alien cadets exchanged looks of disbelief. They didn't know how to match him. More importantly, they didn't know how to even comprehend him. Jack's ability to push past the limits of body and mind was beyond anything they'd ever encountered. This wasn't just endurance. It wasn't even madness. It was something else entirely, something rooted deep in the human spirit. Something terrifying. The mission wasn't over, and neither was Jack. The final leg of the drill began, an intense sequence of tactical engagements. Jack once again took the lead without hesitation, but now the distance between him and the others was greater than ever, physically, mentally, and emotionally. As they approached the final stage, the alien cadets began to realize the truth. Jack Carter wasn't just a teammate. He was a reminder of just how little they truly understood about humanity. His scene really drives home the whole humans are terrifyingly unbreakable theme in such a raw, cinematic way. Here's your professional rewrite, keeping the vibe intense but polished. Part 4, No Limits. The enemy dummies, advanced simulation units designed to replicate hostile forces, approached in relentless waves, each more challenging than the last. The squad hunkered down behind a makeshift barricade, tension crackling in the air. Jack crouched low, rifle ready. He glanced over his shoulder at the wide-eyed alien cadets. "You guys ready?" he asked, his voice casual, like he was about to play a friendly game of laser tag. The cadets nodded, though their faces were tight with unease. They'd seen how the mission had unfolded up to this point, and now they were about to witness the most intense part of the drill. None of them could tell whether they were more worried for Jack or for themselves. Jack's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Remember, stay cool, and if you can't, just stay out of my way." The first wave hit hard. Enemy fire lit up the field in a blaze of energy bolts. The cadets returned fire, but Jack was already moving, too fast for anyone to react. Without hesitation, he charged into the fray, weaving through the chaos like a dancer on a battlefield. "Jack, wait!" someone shouted, too late. He was already in. He dropped 2 targets with clean, precise shots, then ducked behind cover as return fire screamed past his helmet. One blast seared the air an inch from his face. Jack just laughed and slapped the side of his helmet. "You guys are way too slow." The alien stared, stunned. It wasn't just his speed, it was the confidence, the ease. He moved like a man who didn't believe failure was even possible. Zarn, still crouching, raised his weapon, but hesitated. Jack was cutting through the enemy like it was routine. This isn't normal," Zarn muttered. Jack's voice came over the comms, crisp and calm. "Don't think. Just shoot. Trust me. You'll be fine. Just keep the pressure on." Reluctantly, Zarn followed Jack's lead, opening fire. But Jack was already at the enemy line, dispatching dummies, with terrifying efficiency. Even when a blast scorched his shoulder, he didn't flinch. He just fired back and kept going. "What the hell?" Rhett whispered, watching in disbelief. As the drill intensified, the alien cadets began falling into rhythm, copying Jack's aggression, pushing beyond their usual limits. But none of them could match his pace. Jack was a storm, moving, shooting, ducking, advancing, everywhere at once. Their bodies began to wear down, fatigue set in, but not Jack. He kept going, no slowing, no signs of fatigue. He looked unstoppable. Then came the final wave, a massive enemy force with overwhelming firepower. The alien cadets started to falter, their movements sluggish, their stamina spent. And Jack? He seemed to grow stronger, focused, calm, energized. Then it happened. A direct hit slammed into Jack's chest. The force of it should have knocked him flat. Any other cadet would have been out cold. But Jack stumbled, shook it off, and charged forward with renewed fury. The aliens gaped in disbelief. He wasn't just wounded. That hit should have incapacitated him. But there he was, charging into enemy fire like it hadn't even happened. His weapon blazed, his motion still smooth. He wasn't sweating. He wasn't even breathing hard. "This can't be real," Zarn whispered from behind cover. "How is he still moving?" Jack tore through the final enemies, his rifle a blur. Targets fell one by one until at last the simulation ended. The enemy dummies collapsed, neutralized. Jack stood tall in the middle of the field, grinning, his body clearly battered but still functioning. "Mission complete," he said cheerfully. "All right, someone get me food. I'm starving." The alien cadets stared, speechless. The human cadets, who'd been trailing behind, gathered around Jack, seemingly unfazed. "Are you sure you're okay?" Zarn asked, still struggling to understand. Jack stretched, wincing as his shoulder popped. "Yeah, I'm good. Honestly, I probably should have died 5 times. But hey, we're here." The alien cadets exchanged wide-eyed glances. They had been told humans were tough, resilient, pain-resistant, fast. But this was something else. One cadet couldn't hold it in. They said humans were tough, not insane. Jack chuckled, overhearing. "Yeah, we're a little insane, but we get results." With that, he walked off the field, the other human cadets following. None of them seemed surprised by what had just happened. The drill was over, but the aliens were still reeling. In their eyes, Jack Carter wasn't just a soldier. He wasn't just a cadet. He was something other, something they couldn't explain. Whatever the human spirit was, made of, it didn't have limits.